Welcome to Story of Life. Enjoy the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. My birthday has always been a big deal to me, not just because of the gifts or the cake, but because it's the one day in the year when I get to have everyone I care about in one place. This year was supposed to be extra special, a celebration of life, love, and everything that I thought was going right. Little did I know, it would become the night that shattered everything I believed in. I woke up that morning with a smile on my face, my girlfriend, Leah, by my side. She was already awake, looking at me with those eyes that always made me feel like I was the luckiest guy in the world. Leah had this way of making everything seem brighter, like life itself was just a bit more exciting when she was around. She kissed me on the cheek and whispered, "Happy birthday, babe," in that soft voice of hers that always made my heart skip a beat. "I've got a surprise planned for tonight," she said with a mischievous smile. "So you better be ready to have the best birthday ever." I grinned, pulling her closer. "As long as you're with me, it's already the best birthday ever," I said, and I meant it. Leah had been my rock, my partner through all the ups and downs of the past 2 years. I trusted her more than anyone, which is why I never saw what was coming. The day flew by in a blur of birthday messages, calls from family, and a quiet lunch with Leah. The real celebration was planned for the evening, a small party at my place with just a few close friends, including my best friend, Jake. We had all known each other since college, and Jake had been like a brother to me. He was the guy I could count on for anything, the kind of friend who always had my back, no matter what. When Jake arrived that evening, he was his usual self, cracking jokes, making everyone laugh, and bringing the kind of energy that made any gathering better. He gave me a big bear hug and slapped me on the back. "Happy birthday, man! Let's make this night unforgettable," he said, flashing that wide grin of his. Leah seemed to be in great spirits too. She'd gone all out with the decorations, and the place looked amazing. She kept giving me these looks across the room, little secret smiles that made me think we were both in on some shared joke. I felt like the luckiest guy alive, surrounded by my closest friends and the woman I loved. The party kicked off, and everything was perfect, or so I thought. We laughed, played games, and drank way too much. I remember thinking how grateful I was for these people in my life, how they made even the simplest moments feel special. As the night wore on, the alcohol started to hit me harder than I expected. I was feeling a bit wobbly on my feet, the laughter around me blurring into a haze. Leah noticed and came over, wrapping her arms around my waist. "Maybe it's time for the birthday boy to get some rest," she said softly, her voice full of concern. "You've had a long day, and we've still got the rest of the night." I nodded, my head buzzing, and let her lead me to the bedroom. "You guys carry on without me," I said to Jake and the others. "I'll catch up with you all later." Jake raised his glass to me, smirking. "Don't worry, man, we'll take good care of Leah," he said, and everyone laughed. I didn't think much of it at the time. I trusted both of them with my life. As I lay down, Leah kissed me on the forehead. "Sweet dreams," she whispered before turning off the lights and heading back out to the party. Little did I know, that was the moment everything changed. I drifted in and out of sleep, the sounds of laughter and music from the living room fading into the background. I was too tired, too drunk to care about anything other than the warmth of my bed. But then, somewhere in the middle of the night, I woke up. At first, I didn't know what had pulled me out of my sleep. It was just a strange feeling, like something wasn't right. I listened closely. The house was quieter now, the music turned down low. I could hear faint voices, muffled and hushed, but the tone was different. There was something in the way they spoke, something intimate, secretive. I tried to shake off the grogginess, telling myself I was being paranoid, that it was just Jake and Leah talking. But then I heard it, a sound that made my blood run cold. Laughter. Not just any laughter, but Leah's laughter. Soft, breathless, like the kind of laugh you give when you're sharing a private moment with someone. And then I heard Jake's voice, low and teasing, too close, too familiar. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding in my chest. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things, that there was no way they would ever do something to hurt me, not on my birthday, not like this. But the knot in my stomach kept tightening, telling me to get up, to see for myself. So I did. I got out of bed as quietly as I could, the floor creaking beneath my feet. I crept down the hallway, the shadows of the house stretching out in the dim light. As I got closer to the living room, the voices grew clearer, the tone unmistakable. I stopped just outside the doorway, peeking through the small crack. And that's when I saw them. Leah and Jake, sitting way too close on the couch, her hand resting on his thigh, his arm draped around her shoulders. They were laughing softly, their faces inches apart, sharing a moment that was meant for two people who were more than just friends. And then, as if in slow motion, Jake leaned in and kissed her. She didn't pull away. She didn't even hesitate. In that instant, my world shattered. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, like I couldn't breathe. My best friend. My girlfriend. Betraying me right in front of my eyes, in the place that was supposed to be safe, on the day that was supposed to be all about me. I stood there, frozen in shock, as the realization sank in. Everything I thought I knew about these two people, everything I believed about trust and loyalty, it was all a lie. And the worst part? I was too stunned, too broken to do anything about it. I stood there in the darkness, my whole world spinning out of control as I watched my best friend and my girlfriend betray me in the worst way imaginable. My mind struggled to catch up, to process what my eyes were seeing. There was a part of me that still wanted to believe it was a bad dream, that I'd wake up any second and everything would be normal again. But it wasn't a dream. It was a nightmare playing out in real life, and there was no waking up from this. As I stood there, frozen in place, Leah and Jake were completely oblivious to my presence. They were wrapped up in each other, lost in the kind of moment that was meant to be between lovers, not traitors. I watched as Jake whispered something into Leah's ear, something that made her giggle and bite her lip. Then she kissed him back, slowly, deeply, like she'd done it 100 times before. The sight of it snapped something inside me. My shock turned into a white-hot rage, and without thinking, I stepped into the living room, my voice shaking with fury. What the hell is going on here? They jumped apart like guilty teenagers caught sneaking out after curfew. Leah's eyes went wide with shock, her face draining of color. Jake looked stunned for a second, but then his expression shifted to something I hadn't expected, almost like he was relieved that the secret was out. Wait, it's not what it looks like! Leah blurted out, scrambling to her feet, her eyes darting around like she was looking for an escape. I can explain, I swear! Not what it looks like! I repeated, my voice rising, barely able to contain the hurt and rage boiling inside me. It looks like my girlfriend and my best friend were making out on my birthday. Right after I went to bed. So what exactly am I not understanding here? Jake stood up, his hands raised defensively. Dude, calm down, he said, trying to sound rational, but his voice was shaky. It was a mistake, okay? We were just talking, and things got out of hand. A mistake? I spat, my vision blurring with angry tears. That's what you're calling it. How long has this been going on, huh? How many times have you betrayed me behind my back? Leah looked at me, her eyes filling with tears, but I wasn't sure if they were from guilt or from getting caught. Please listen to me, she said, her voice trembling. It didn't mean anything. It was a moment of weakness. I felt like the floor had been pulled out from under me. A moment of weakness? Was that really the best she could come up with? I thought back to all the times I had trusted her, all the times I had looked at Jake and seen a brother, a partner in crime. Now all I saw was betrayal, two people who had taken my trust and torn it to pieces. The silence stretched out between us, thick and suffocating. I didn't know what hurt more, the fact that they'd betrayed me on my birthday, or the fact that they were both standing there, trying to justify what they'd done instead of apologizing. How long? I asked again, my voice breaking. How long have you two been doing this behind my back? Jake had the decency to look ashamed, but Leah, she just looked trapped, like a cornered animal. She hesitated, glancing at Jake as if silently begging him to handle the situation. Finally, she took a deep breath and said, "It just started recently. Tonight was the first time anything happened, I swear." But I didn't believe her. I couldn't. The way they looked at each other, the way they seemed to move in sync, it wasn't the kind of chemistry that just happens in a night. It was something that had been brewing for a while, something they'd both chosen to act on the moment I wasn't around. "You expect me to believe that?" I said, my voice laced with disbelief. "You both stood there, looking me in the eyes tonight, pretending to be my friends, and then you turned around and did this? On my birthday?" Jake took a step forward, his face twisted in guilt. "Man, I didn't mean for this to happen," he said, his voice cracking. "I didn't want to hurt you. Leah and it just kind of happened, you know? It's not what you think." I shook my head, my hands clenched into fists. "It's exactly what I think. You're both liars. And the worst part is, I trusted you. I trusted both of you more than anyone else in this world." Leah started to cry, covering her face with her hands. "I'm so sorry," she whispered through her sobs. "I never wanted to hurt you. I don't even know why I did it." But her words felt empty. Hollow. Like she was saying them because she had to, not because she meant them. And in that moment, I realized that the woman I thought I loved, the woman who promised me everything, had betrayed me in the worst possible way, with the one person who knew exactly how much it would hurt. I couldn't stand to be in the same room with them anymore. The walls felt like they were closing in, suffocating me with their lies. I needed to get out, to put some distance between myself and the toxic reality I was facing. Without another word, I turned and headed toward the door. "Where are you going?" Jake called after me, desperation creeping into his voice. "Anywhere but here," I said without looking back. "I can't even look at either of you right now." I grabbed my jacket and walked out the front door, slamming it behind me. The cool night air hit me like a slap in the face, but it wasn't enough to clear the fog of betrayal that clouded my mind. I walked down the empty street, each step pounding out the rage and heartbreak I couldn't contain. How could they do this to me? How could the two people I trusted most in the world turn around and destroy everything I believed in on the one night that was supposed to be about celebrating? I felt like a fool, like I'd been played by the people I thought loved me. As I wandered the streets, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, expecting more lies, more excuses, but what I saw instead made my blood run cold. It was a text from Jake. "Meet me tomorrow. We need to talk." I stared at the screen, my hands shaking with anger. What could he possibly say to make this better? What explanation could he give that would undo the knife he'd driven into my back? I wanted to ignore it, to cut them both out of my life completely, but a part of me needed answers. Needed to know how far this betrayal went. I knew one thing for sure, this conversation wasn't going to be about apologies. It was going to be about the bitter truth they'd been hiding, and I was ready to tear down every lie they built. The game had changed, and I was done playing by their rules. The next day felt like I was walking through a fog. My mind was still reeling from the shock of what I had seen the night before. The betrayal played over and over in my head like a broken record. The two people I trusted most in this world, ripping my heart out on the one night that was supposed to be about celebrating my life. Jake's text haunted me as I tried to make sense of it all. "Meet me tomorrow. We need to talk." What could he possibly say that would make this right? What kind of twisted logic could he use to justify his actions? Still, I needed answers, needed to know the truth behind their betrayal, no matter how painful it might be. Later that afternoon, I agreed to meet Jake at a quiet cafe we used to hang out at, a place that was now tainted with memories of a friendship that felt like a lie. As I walked in, I spotted him sitting at a table by the window. He looked different, nervous, guilty, like he was carrying the weight of what he'd done on his shoulders. Good, I thought. He should feel that way. I took a deep breath and sat down across from him, my face a mask of controlled rage. He looked up at me with that familiar expression, the one that used to make me feel like I could trust him with anything. Now it just made me sick to my stomach. "Thanks for coming," he said quietly, his voice sounding like he was already defeated. I know you're hurt, and I know nothing I say is going to make this okay, but I need to explain. Explain? I said, my voice calm but laced with venom. You think there's an explanation that can fix what you did? You and Leah betrayed me, Jake. You did it on my birthday, in my own house, right after I went to bed. Do you have any idea how sick that is? Jake lowered his eyes, unable to meet my gaze. I'm not going to defend what happened, he said, shaking his head slowly. I know we crossed a line that we can't come back from. I never meant to hurt you, man. You have to believe that. You never meant to hurt me? I repeated, my voice rising. You knew exactly what you were doing. You looked me in the eyes, you laughed with me, and the moment I turned my back, you were all over her. I didn't plan for this, Jake said, desperation creeping into his voice. I never wanted to fall for Leah. But it just happened, okay? We've been spending so much time together, planning things for you, and one thing led to another. Don't give me that it just happened crap, I snapped. People don't just fall into each other's arms by accident. You made a choice, Jake. Both of you did. He finally looked up at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and something else, something like resignation. You're right, he said. We did make a choice. And I know that makes me the worst kind of friend, but I swear to you, it wasn't about hurting you. It was about feelings that we didn't know how to control. Feelings? I spat out the word like it was poison. You're talking about feelings now? You have no idea what real friendship is, do you? Or loyalty? You betrayed me for what? Some twisted fantasy? Jake opened his mouth to speak, but before he could say anything, my phone buzzed on the table. I glanced down and saw Leah's name flash across the screen. I didn't want to answer it, didn't want to hear any more of her lies, but something inside me pushed me to pick up. Leah, I said, my voice cold as ice. I'm sitting here with Jake. What do you have to say for yourself? There was a long pause on the other end, then Leah's voice came through, shaky and tearful. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know that last night was a mistake, a terrible, stupid mistake. A mistake? I said, my voice cracking with a bitter laugh. The only mistake was me trusting either of you. How long has this been going on, Leah? Tell me the truth. She hesitated, and for a moment I thought she might lie to me again. But then she let out a shaky breath. A few weeks, she admitted. It started a few weeks ago. We didn't mean for it to happen, but there was something between us that we couldn't ignore. I closed my eyes, feeling the world tilt beneath me. A few weeks? While I was planning my birthday, while I was thinking that everything was perfect, they were sneaking around behind my back. My best friend and my girlfriend. How could you do this to me? I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. How could you betray me like that, knowing how much you both meant to me? I never meant to hurt you, Leah said, her voice cracking with emotion. I love you, but I think I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted, and I ended up ruining everything. Jake was watching me, his face pale and stricken, and for a moment, I saw genuine regret in his eyes. But I couldn't bring myself to care. They had both made their choice, and I was done playing the fool. I loved you both, I said, my voice filled with the anger and sadness that I could no longer hold back. And this is how you repay me? By tearing my heart out and stomping on it? You don't get to apologize. You don't get to ask for forgiveness. I know, Jake said softly, his voice broken. I know we messed up, and I'll never forgive myself for what I did to you. I wish I could take it all back. But you can't, I said, standing up from the table. You can't take it back, and you can't fix what you broke. This friendship, this relationship, everything is over. Leah's voice came through the phone one last time, desperate and pleading. Please don't end it like this, she said. I know we messed up, but can't we at least talk? Can't we try to make this right somehow? I looked at Jake, then down at my phone, and shook my head. There's nothing left to say. You two betrayed me in the worst way possible, and I'll never be able to look at either of you the same again. I ended the call, ignoring Leah's tearful protests, and turned to Jake one last time. Goodbye, Jake, I said, my voice hollow. I hope it was worth it. And with that, I walked out of the cafe, leaving behind the shattered remains of a friendship and a love that had turned to ashes. I didn't look back. I couldn't look back. Because looking back would mean remembering what I had lost, and right now, all I could do was move forward. It's been months since that night, and the pain still lingers like an open wound that refuses to heal. Leah and Jake tried to reach out to me a few times after that, sending messages and apologies that I never responded to. They moved on together, I suppose, as traitors often do, finding comfort in the wreckage they created. But for me, trust will never be the same. I've learned that loyalty is a rare thing, a fragile bond that can be shattered in an instant. I learned that the people closest to you can sometimes be the ones who hurt you the most. And on my next birthday, when I blow out the candles, I won't be wishing for love or friendship. I'll be wishing for the strength to never let anyone tear me apart like that again. I'll be wishing for the power to move on and rebuild from the ashes of betrayal.